Your phone buzzes at 2:17 in the morning. Motion detected. Front hallway. You pick it up. You open the app. You look at the live feed. The hallway is empty, but the camera is still tracking. That little indicator light, the one that sweeps left to right when the AI detects movement, it's moving, following something. Something was crossing the hallway, slowly, at the exact pace a person would walk. There is nothing there. You watch for 40 seconds. The camera tracks the full width of the hallway, stops, then tilts slightly upward, the way it would if whatever it was following had just looked up at it. You are alone in the house. You check the locks yourself. You live alone. This is what happened to Joel. Welcome back to the channel. Before we start tonight, I want to say something. I get a lot of messages from people asking if these stories are real, and my answer is always the same. I don't do fiction here. I don't dress things up to be scarier than they are. What I do is find cases at the intersection of technology and terror cases that are documented, reported and verified, and I bring them to you in a way that respects both the people involved and the truth of what happened. Tonight's story is one of the most technically unsettling things I have come across in my research. It involves a man named Joel, a mid-range smart home security system, and a series of camera recordings that a computer vision engineer, a professional, could not explain. Joel gave permission for his story to be shared. He asked that his surname and city not be used. He wants people to know what happened to him. He said, and I'm quoting directly here, "I don't want people to think I'm crazy. I want people to understand what these cameras are actually doing. Because once you know, you can't look at them the same way." Let's go back to the beginning. Joel was 31 years old, renting a 2-bedroom house in a quiet residential area. He'd moved in 8 months earlier after a breakup, and the house, while comfortable, always gave him a slightly uneasy feeling he couldn't name. Old houses do that sometimes. The way sound travels differently through them. The way certain rooms feel colder than they should. He wasn't a superstitious person. He was a project manager at a logistics company. Practical, methodical. He installed the smart camera system, a popular brand, 4 cameras total, because his car had been scratched in the driveway and he wanted evidence if it happened again. That was all. The system was good. Camera 1 covered the front door and hallway. Camera 2 was in the kitchen. Camera 3 faced the back garden. Camera 4 was at the top of the stairs, his own addition, a single unit he'd bought separately after reading about package theft in his area. The app on his phone sent motion alerts, stored a rolling 72-hour cloud archive, and used what the company called AI Smart Detection, a computer vision model trained to distinguish between humans, animals, vehicles, and what the documentation called unclassified motion events. For the first 3 months, the system worked exactly as advertised. Delivery drivers, a fox in the garden, his neighbor's cat. The cameras were good enough that the AI correctly identified all of them. Then, in February, the alerts started. The first alert came on a Tuesday, 2:17 a.m. Joel woke up, checked his phone the way you do, half asleep, assuming it was nothing. He looked at the live feed. The hallway was empty, but the camera was tracking. The tracking behavior is important to understand, and this is the detail that matters most. The AI Smart Detection system doesn't just detect motion, it uses object tracking. When it identifies something, a human, an animal, it actively follows it with the camera gimbal. The camera physically turns. It pursues the subject across the frame. What Joel was watching on his phone was the camera tracking something across his hallway in a slow, deliberate arc, something moving at human walking pace. And there was nothing visible on the feed. He got up. He walked to the hallway. He stood there for several minutes. Nothing. No animal. No open window with a curtain moving. No explanation. He checked the recording the next morning. The camera had tracked for 42 seconds. The motion event was logged in the app as category unclassified, confidence 94%. That confidence score is what got Joel's attention. The system wasn't confused. It wasn't a low confidence guess. It had detected something with near certainty and could not put it in any known category. He told himself it was a bug, a software glitch. He reset the camera. He checked for firmware updates. He even emailed the company's support team, who responded 4 days later with a template reply about checking his Wi-Fi connection. 3 nights later, it happened again. Same camera, same hallway. 2:51 a.m. this time, and then again 2 nights after that, and then the night after that. By the second week, Joel had pulled every recording. He sat down one Saturday with a coffee and reviewed all of it. And here is where the story changes, because it stopped being random. The unclassified motion always began at the same point in the hallway, the exact same spot. Bottom left corner of the frame, just beside the coat rack. Every single time, whatever the camera was tracking originated from that corner. Then it would move toward the stairs and stop at the bottom step. It always stopped at the bottom step, like it was deciding whether to go up. Joel had a friend, a woman named Priya, who worked as a computer vision engineer at a tech firm. He sent her the recordings, all of them. He didn't tell her what he thought. He just asked her to look. Priya called him back 4 days later. He said she sounded careful, like she was choosing her words deliberately. She told him she had run the raw footage through 2 separate motion analysis tools. She'd looked at the infrared channel data separately from the visible light data because smart cameras capture both simultaneously, and they don't always show the same thing. On the visible light feed, the footage Joel saw on his phone, there was nothing. Empty hallway, normal. On the infrared channel, the heat and light wave data the camera uses for night vision and object detection, there was a shape, not a clear one, not a defined human outline, but a thermal irregularity, a pattern of disrupted infrared return that, when Priya isolated it and enhanced it, was consistent across all 12 recordings, with the same rough form, upright, roughly human proportioned. She told Joel she could think of 3 possible explanations. An IR reflective surface somewhere in the hallway, a mirror, a glass panel, bouncing infrared light in a way that mimicked a humanoid shape. An insulation problem in the wall is causing heat leakage in a specific pattern. Or, and she was clear that this was the least likely but technically possible, an actual infrared light source outside the visible spectrum that Joel couldn't see, but that the camera could. Joel checked the hallway for mirrors and glass panels. There were none. He had a building inspector assess the insulation. It was fine. Priya had one more thing to tell him. When she'd reviewed the infrared data most carefully, she'd noticed something in the final 3 recordings that wasn't present in the earlier ones. The shape had been moving further up the stairs each time. In recording 10, it was at the 2nd step. In recording 11, the 5th step. In recording 12, and the last recording, Joel had before he stopped sleeping in the house. It had reached the top of the stairs, and it was standing directly in front of camera 4, looking into the lens. The recording showed 40 seconds of that. The camera, rather than tracking and following, had simply stopped. The AI had locked its frame, as though it had found what it was looking for and no longer needed to move. The event was logged as category unclassified, confidence 99%. Joel moved out 6 weeks after the recordings began. He stayed with his brother for a month while he found a new flat. He left the cameras in the house. He couldn't explain why. He just didn't want to take them with him. He did check the app one last time, 3 days after he'd moved. There was a final recorded event from camera 1. The front hallway, time-stamped at 4:03 a.m. on the night he left. 2 minutes, 19 seconds long. He said he watched about 30 seconds of it. Then he deleted the app. What Joel focuses on now, the part he most wants people to hear, isn't the supernatural angle. He's careful about that. He doesn't use the word ghost. He says he doesn't know what was in that house, and he's made peace with not knowing. What he can't make peace with, what genuinely disturbs him, is something different. He thinks about the camera, about the AI inside it that detected something 12 times, with escalating confidence that it could not name or categorize. That tracked it faithfully, mapped its movement, noted its progression across his home, and stored all of it in a cloud server somewhere without ever alerting him that something was genuinely wrong. The system flagged the events as unclassified. It did not differentiate between, I found something strange, and you should know, and this doesn't match my training data, so here is a label. These cameras are designed to make us feel safe. They're built around the assumption that what they detect will always have a mundane explanation. There is no alarm in the system for an unprecedented event. There is no notification because this has never happened before. There's just a category, unclassified, and a number. And the data, sitting in a server, is waiting. I want to leave you with one thought tonight. Right now, in millions of homes across the world, smart cameras are running, watching, detecting, classifying, and somewhere in that data, in that 72-hour rolling archive that most people never bother to review, There are events that got labeled unclassified and quietly stored away. Most of them are bugs. Most of them are reflections, insects, and Wi-Fi glitches. Most of them. If you have a smart camera in your home, I'm not saying check the archive. I'm not saying pull the infrared data and run it through a motion analyzer. I'm just saying you could. If this got under your skin, and I think it might have, please subscribe. Every week I bring you a story from the space where technology and terror meet. Real cases, real data, real dread. And if your smart home device has ever done something it couldn't explain, a camera that tracked nothing, an Alexa that responded to a question nobody asked, a doorbell that rang at 3 a.m. with no one there, tell me in the comments. Because that might be episode 3. Lock your doors tonight and maybe, just maybe, flip the camera around.